Live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital, begins today's edition of Prime News in the Northwest region, where the lifeless body of a man was found in a stream in Mulang, a neighborhood in Bamenda 2 municipality in the Northwest region of Cameroon early Monday morning. It is not clear what happened to the victim or how his remains was found in the stream, but this is not the first time such an incident is happening in the area. Many corpses have in the past been found in this stream with no clues linking the criminals and the victims. However, an investigation has been opened to ascertain what happened. Onto something else, members of a coalition of civil society organizations pushing for transparency in the management of COVID-19 funds have faulted government for the inadequate supply of water and electricity in major health facilities in the country. The revelations were made in Yaoundé recently during the presentation of a report carried out in 6 regions of Cameroon. Ngwa with details.
Based on a study carried out in the Northwest, Center, South, East and the Far North regions, the COVID-19 Transparency and Accountability in Africa, Action for Development Empowerment alongside other partners revealed pathetic realities of the local public health units in these regions. Speaking during the presentation of the findings in Yaoundé recently, Nancy Saibo of the ADE emphasized that Cameroonians in these regions feel neglected as far as the COVID-19 Incident Management Response Fund is concerned. She added that the citizens do not fully trust government vaccination campaign. The study cites health units in these 5 regions without potable water, electricity, poor access, insufficient personnel and medical equipment. Meanwhile, a greater part of the COVID-19 incident response budget was aimed at reinforcing the general health coverage of Cameroon, especially in rural areas. In response to the results of the study, civil society actor Edith Karwala congratulated the role of CTAP and ADE in citizenship. She equally called on Cameroonian youth to rise up and demand accountability and transparency whenever there are reports of stealing, as clearly stated by the audit bench of the Supreme Court. The report was presented to civil society actors in Yaoundé during a coalition meeting focused on gauging the transparency of the COVID-19 incident management response in Cameroon.
Ngwa reports in the following report, Audrey Zadza sought to find out what to consider when buying a piece of land in Cameroon, considering the fact that many Cameroonians are still being duped in the process. She brought back the following finding.
Buying a constructible land in Cameroon is a wise investment and a great milestone in one's life, especially if the transaction is smooth and fraud-free. However, this is not often the case, as about 20% of cases in Cameroonian courts yearly is about land disputes arising from the sale of land. Different complaints often heard, amongst others, are double sale of land, buying of a piece of land and being unable to construct on it due to its unconstructability nature classified by the government. But these issues could be evitable only if land buyers respect the good practices in land acquisition and construction.
The good practice before construction. When a user expresses the need to acquire a land, it is necessary to request a certificate of urbanism. In this certificate, you are informed about the rules of land use of the area in which the land is located. These rules of occupation of the grounds consist in knowing if the zone is constructible or not. This prevents people from buying a plot of land and then complaining that the land is not viable.
One of the most important steps to consider before buying a land once identified is to know its characteristics.
The document which allows us to have this information is the certificate of urbanism. We are in an environment where not all the land that is sold is fragmented. There are lands that are sold by communities and that do not have a land title, and the land that is acquired through a deed of sale. Even with this configuration of land, we can still get information on its constructibility nature.
Finding out the existence or non-existence of real rights on the land is another step to consider.
Vous pouvez savoir si la personne qui vous vend le terrain est effectivement le propriétaire.
You can find out if the vendor is the real proprietor of the said land by going to the Land Registry Service, which will issue a document called the Certificate of Ownership. This certificate can henceforth be obtained at the guichet unique.
With these practices, it is hoped by the Land Registry Service in Cameroon that the phenomenon of land swindling, which is on the rise, will see a positive change.
Now, the fourth batch of students of Otabe University Institute have been sent out. The graduation ceremony of 46 students with master's and professional advanced diplomas certified by Rome Business School took place in Douala over the weekend. Lasha Kingsley attended the ceremony and now reports.
There are 46 of them in number, all graduating in flying colors from Otabe University Institute, Cameroon. They graduated with MBA, Masters and Professional Advanced Diplomas certified by Rome Business School over the weekend. Also amongst the graduating students were HND and Fashion Business Management Diplomas. Speaking during the ceremony, leadership coach Roland Kweme highlighted 15 P's that will lead the graduates to a successful socio-professional life.
Trying to tell a life after this is going to be quite challenging, but they can transform those challenges into opportunities. And some of the P's, if I have to list them, is to appreciate what the parents did for them. So to be very, very grateful. The second P is about being very, very professional. Very professional. One of the P's also I insisted is about trying to develop their personal branding, because the world is going to be very highly competitive. They need to also have positive mindset. They need to plan. They need to work on the time management in terms of punctuality. There's another element that will help them to even push again further. It's about prayer. They need to develop the spirituality. And last but not least, I told them it is important for them to be very, very productive.
Adeline Sedi Kamga, member of the Board of Trustees, says FONE is an example of an institution that trains professionals, as all graduating students are already into full-time employment.
Today was an exceptional day because almost all the graduating students, for me, are already in full-time employment. Now that's a big time, 95% achievement. That is what every university should aim at. My feelings for today has been kind of really emotional at some point, and the fact that one single girl won more than 5 awards for the best entrepreneurial student, that says something truly powerful. It says something powerful to all the women out there, all the women who are making strides to achieve excellence at what they do.
Abobala is also a member of the Board of Trustees of FONE.
I really like this program because it brings in practical knowledge and how they can effectively contribute to the welfare of the economy of the country. We are supposed to get past the stage of only theory to make sure that we practicalize what we learn in school. So, and this is one thing that I believe that entrepreneurial education is very important. To practicalize education is very important. The Board of Trustees have done a wonderful job. I want to thank the president of the board and the president of the university and all the members for making this happen.
One of the graduating students narrates his journey to success and says determination is the key to success.
I think from how it all began from my primary school days and how the dream was grown and how the focus was built and how the determination led me to where I am today, being one of the graduates of this prestigious school, Otabe University Cameroon, with its affiliation or certification by the Rome Business School based in Italy. And it has not been a difficult one. Going through an exercise like that requires that we work hard. So I worked hard, studied hard. There were sleepless nights. There were difficult days.
FONE is a university institution that trains entrepreneurial leaders for Africa's future.
Law enforcement officials in Molondo East region of Cameroon have arrested 3 poachers suspected to have killed 8 elephants at the Lobeki National Park. Catherine Ekongwe completes the story.
On November 17, 2021, East Regional Delegate for Forestry and Wildlife Francis Direna was alerted by a monitoring team of park rangers after making a discovery of fresh carcass of 3 adult elephants within the Lobeke National Park in the region. Moved by the hint, the regional delegation of Forestry and Wildlife alongside the team of park rangers brought this to the notice of the forces of law and order. Immediately, a search operation was launched. A poacher and 2 others were arrested. They admitted to have carried out the act while disclosing the location where 5 other elephants have been killed by them. During the interrogation, the suspect further reveals 5 members of their gang who are said to be on the run. It should be noted that the park covers a surface area of 217,000 hectares of land, which has now become a fertile ground for poaching activities following the drive by poachers to meet the needs of the markets. It has been a long cry by stakeholders to curb the sale of skin and flesh of endangered species. Yet as the days go by, the end of this practice is still far-fetched. Investigations have been opened to dislodge the gang, as part authorities at they must have worked in collaboration with an insider.
The Religious News Champions International House of Prayer Bamenda organized a 4-day evangelism crusade in Dongamantun Division of the Northwest region. The 4-day crusade, which brought together religious, local and administrative authorities, was to invite God to restore peace in that part of the country. Charles Kiwa reports from Bamenda.
The Champions International House of Prayers Bamenda, Cameroon, 4 days evangelism crusade to Ndu, Dongamantun Division of the Northwest, round up over the weekend. The evangelism mission, with activities the man of God and team reach out to orphanage, IDPs and others taking refuge in Ndu at the Ndu Grandstand with Operation Ndu Crusade Part 2. With thousands, including local government administrative and security officials, joined the man of God, Prophet Walters N.N., in praying for God to have mercy on the land of Ndu and restore peace. The crusade, according to the DO for Ndu, was first mega event that has brought thousands in attendance since the outbreak of the Anglophone crisis. To the man of God, Prophet Walters N.N., his God-directed mission was to clear the Ndu-Kumbo-Bamenda road, which for 5 years had rendered untold suffering unleashed upon the people of Ndu with the blockage of the road.
Our mission for Ndu, the main mission why we went to Ndu was to open the route that had been blocked for 5 years today due to the Anglophone crisis. And the people of Ndu have been suffering and crying to God. And I cried God to God, and God instructed me, his servant, in the name of Jesus Christ, to go and pray for the road to reopen and show the example by passing on that road to come back to the city of Bamenda.
Recounting his experience on the road upon his return from Ndu over the weekend to Pressmen, the overseer of Champions International Ministries said his greatest challenge was convincing government elements to allow them use the main road.
A very dreaded, to a very terrible stretch, that is to Kumbu and about to enter Takija, we were blocked not by the Amber but by the gendarmes who came out with their commander and asked us that we must return and go through the west. And we had a heated debate for about 1 hour, pleading with them that our program was authorized by the GO, and the commandant of the brigade gave his accord from do that we can go. If we think that we can do that, it will be a blessing to the entire division because so many people are suffering.
To the man of God, what is blocking the Ndu Kumbo Ndop Bamenda highway is beyond human eye.
Conclusions that the blockage of this road is something that it is not what the physical mind see, but what the physical eye can see. It is beyond, because if instead of being happy that a church the power of God, have come with the power of God, because I told him, allow us to face the boys who are blocking the route. We have come to preach to them. In the Bible, God's servants preach the gospel even in times of war. We don't know war when God asks us to go.
The prophet, who was accompanied to Ndu by the champion soldier and prayer warrior group of close to 50 members, Prophet Walters NN has declared, beginning January 1st, 2022, anyone who inflicts pain on God's people will face the wrath of God.
In a related story, a joint crossover church service in preparation for the new year 2022, bringing together 5 apostolic churches in Bamenda 3 municipality, took place at the Apostolic Church Nimbum in Kwenchas, Kewa once again.
A joint crossover church service in preparation for 2022, bringing 5 apostolic churches in Bamenda 3 municipality, Nkwen Park, Mile 4, Ntaseng, Mente, and Cow Street, all of the apostolic church in Cameroon, following their spiritual calendar, held a combined crossover service at the Apostolic Church Nibum Nkwen, Bamenda 3 subdivision of the Northwest, December 5, 2021. Caption, be ready for rapture, as in Matthew 24 verses 44 and Philippians 2 verses 12.
Who is God's substitute for mankind who had fallen to make that heaven, which is our ultimate destination as Christians who are pilgrims upon the earth.
With guest preacher, the Reverend Dr. John T. Ayafo, Nkwen District Supervisor amidst College of Pastors, preaching in series, Hell, Heaven, and the possibilities of escaping hell and making heaven as pilgrims upon the earth.
Jesus is going to come like a thief in the night, so we have to be prepared at any time. Even now, as I'm talking, it can still happen. So the believers have to be prepared at any time, at any hour, at any second. Jesus can come.
Key message, be prepared for the rapture, as Christians should serve God, being cautioned that Jesus is coming soon.
Now should be signs that the apostolic church will tell the world that he is coming. So you gather to hear the message that they can carry it as ambassadors of the apostolic church to announce the right words that Jesus is on his way. And everyone should be ready for the rapture.
The Reverend Dr. John T. Ayafo, Nkwen District Supervisor of the Apostolic Church in Cameroon, emphasized on believers to be ready for the rapture, mount sound, and carry the message as ambassadors and announce Jesus is on his way, and everyone should be ready for the rapture.
By this, we are telling them that they are now mature to preach the very gospel, the very fundamentals of our Christian belief in Apostolic Church, wherever they go, to be defenders of the faith. To tell everyone they meet that these are the things the Apostolic Church preach, and they are here to pass out that same message to the rest of the world.
Right hand of fellowship was extended to team members of leaders to work for 2022 to be defenders of their faith, and after having gone through the fundamental doctrines of the Apostolic Church called the tenets.
Well, the main caption for the 2022, which is ready for rapture, absolutely it's quite touching in the sense that our existence on earth is as strangers. We are strangers in this world, and we have to go to our final destinations.
Praise, worship, deliverance, and communion to communicants crowned the joint service.
As elections for president of the Cameroon Football Federation FECAFOOT narrows down, our reporter Dolly Ngonde tells us how hard predictions are to be made as to who will win the upcoming elections. Her report.
The countdown is narrowing down as expectations are high. Cameroonians home and abroad are anxiously awaiting a new leadership to steer clear issues at the helm of the Cameroon Football Federation FECAFOOT. Amongst the aspirants who deposited their files is former football player Samuel Eto'o, whose presence in the race is causing a head-on stifler with the incumbent FECAFOOT president Seydou Mbombo Njoya. On Thursday, November 18, 2021, at exactly 6 p.m., the technical secretariat at FECAFOOT closed its doors in respect of the deadline issued by the Electoral Commission. And after receiving the 8 files, every potential candidate came with juicy projects mostly centered around revamping the management of football, creating win-win businesses with investors, and also with the aim of bringing partners to the football sector and strengthening local football in the country. After the Electoral Committee sat on Wednesday, November 24, 2021, a final list was published at the end of deliberations. And with a humiliating record from the Appeal Commissioner, the Fecafoot, declaring Samuel Eto'o's request of his main rival, Seydou Mbonjoya, terming it irreceivable, that seemed the start of competition for the race of Fecafoot president. And just a few days to the presidential elections come December 11, 2021, Fecafoot delegates from 6 regions have backed incumbent Seydou Mbonjoya. The delegates from Adamawa, the far north, north, west, and central regions say they believe in the continuation of the roadmap of the incumbent. In addition to this, the outgoing president of Fecafoot struck a big blow by responding to Samuel Eto'o, who had pushed the plug until going on the grounds of Iya Mohammed and completely allied with supporters of the opposite camp. But how long will that last? During his stay in that part of the country, after being accompanied by his beautiful wife and former captain of the Indomitable Lions, Rigobert Song, the team met with the Lamido with the hope of using his host's influence to help him capture the votes of delegates to the General Assembly. In the aftermath of this visit, his main opponent decides to strike hard by doing the same thing in the same symbolic city, where Seydou Mbonjoya brought out all the delegates who were committed to his cause, with all the delegates of the said regional league deciding to provide their full and unreserved support to Mr. Seydou Mbonjoya in the context of the election to the presidency of Fecafoot. The predictions of who would be future president of Fecafoot are hard in front to make now.
Still on sports, handball Lionesses lost to Serbia during the ongoing championship taking place in Lille, Spain. Cameroon will face Poland in their next match come Tuesday, December 7. Nora Kakebe tells us in the full report.
The indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon yesterday Sunday lost their second game in their second outing in the ongoing Women's Handball World Championship in Spain. The Cameroonian women's handball team was trashed by Serbia after their Day 1 defeat to Russia 18-4. Serbia is the second team in Group B to clinch their main round spot as they beat Cameroon last night in Leiria, Spain. It was a start-to-finish win for the Serbia team as they already led comfortably by double digits at half-time. Team Serbia was led by Marija and Jelena Agbagba, 6 and 7 goals, while Cameroon had their strongest shooter in Krichma Kaltume Eko with 7 goals. Serbia opened the game with 3 goals, while Cameroon had to wait for 5 minutes to finally get through Serbia's defense. Cameroon will play against Poland on Tuesday, December 7, 2021 at 6 p.m. The 25th Women's World Championship, the first edition, will feature 32 teams and will run from December 1 to December 19. The event will be staged in 4 venues in the cities of Castello, Granollers, Leiria, and Torrevieja.
The World Health Organization has decried laxity by most countries in enforcing barrier measures put in place to curb COVID-19 pandemic that has claimed the lives of millions worldwide. Bukengo Worthy with details in the following report.
The COVID-19 pandemic for the past 2 years and counting have dragged the world to the point of a perilous more than 4 million deaths and 256 million cases worldwide. These figures, mostly born from negligence, is underestimated according to the World Health Organization Director General.
The world is at perilous point in this pandemic. We have just passed the tragic milestone of 4 million recorded COVID-19 deaths, which likely underestimates the overall toll. Some countries with high vaccination coverage are now planning to roll out booster shots in the coming months and are dropping public health social measures and relaxing as though the pandemic is already over.
With preventive measures that were put in place, such as social distancing, proper hand washing, wearing of face masks, coughing and sneezing into elbow and more, many countries around the world have become relaxed in practicing these measures that put the world and the health economic burden at high risk.
Far too many countries in every region of the world are seeing sharp spikes in cases and hospitalization. Vaccine nationalism, where a handful of nations have taken the lion's share, is morally indefensible and an ineffective public health strategy against a respiratory virus that's mutating quickly and becoming increasingly effective at moving from human to human. Variants are currently winning the race against vaccines because of inequitable vaccine production and distribution, which also threatens the global economic recovery.
He lays emphasis on the fact that everyone is supposed to be proactive in helping fight the virus and its multiple variants.
From a moral, epidemiological, or economic point of view, now is the time for the world to come together to tackle this pandemic collectively.
It is worth noting that the coronavirus, since its emergence in November 2019, has become a global health burden and pandemic, spreading and affecting thousands daily due to the relaxed nature by which some countries face the virus, and measures put in place to help curb the spread is not respected, and a lot more will think of the virus as nothing but a myth.
And to news out of the country, we visited Mali, South Africa, Sierra Leone and Kenya, where at least 23 people died after a bus carrying choir members to a wedding plunged into a river. Get full details right ahead. News on the African continent. We begin in Kenya, where at least 23 people reportedly drowned when a bus traveling to a wedding in central Kenya was swept off a bridge into a flooded river. According to East Sub-County Police Commander Joseph Yekan, the driver tried to steer the bus past a flooded bridge, but the strong current swept it. Kichu Governor Charity Ngulu told the press 18 people had been saved, including 4 children, while 23 bodies had been retrieved, and rescue team is still trying to recover more corpses as it remains unclear how many passengers were aboard the bus when it tipped into River Njui about 200 kilometers east of the capital Nairobi. The bus was transporting choir members of Mwingi Catholic Church who were traveling for their male colleague's wedding when the accident occurred. Elsewhere, suspected jihadis in Mali killed at least 30 civilians in an attack on a passenger vehicle in the volatile central town of Mapti. According to local officials, the passengers were sprayed with bullets during an attack near the town of Bandiagara, claiming the lives of 31, including women and children, while 17 others were injured. Mali has been struggling to contain an Islamist insurgency that first erupted in the north in 2012 and has since claimed thousands of military and civilian lives. Despite the presence of thousands of French and United Nations troops, the conflict has engulfed central Mali and spread to neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger. Though no group has claimed responsibility, Mali's transitional government has vowed to do everything necessary to arrest and punish the perpetrators. We move over to Ivory Coast, where hundreds of women marched in Abidjan to protest violence against women and to demand punishment for rapists. Under the slogan Orange the World, organized by the United Nations Women's Generation Equality, women in Ivory Coast and around the world participated in different activities to call attention and create awareness about violence suffered by thousands of women and girls every day. According to statistics published by the World Health Organization, about 1 in 3 women worldwide have been subjected to either physical or sexual intimate partner violence or non-partner sexual violence in their lifetime. To this effect, the 16 Days of Orange the World campaign, which runs from November 25 to December 10, takes place in different countries demanding solutions against gender-based violence. We conclude today's tour on the African continent in South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa says hospitals are preparing for more admissions as the country entered a 4th COVID-19 wave driven by the Omicron coronavirus strain. Omicron was detected in South Africa last month, triggering global alarm amid fears of a new surge of infections. President Ramaphosa said in the Weekly News that Omicron appeared to be dominating new cases in most of the country's 9 provinces and urged more people to get vaccinated against COVID-19, stressing that a surge in infections was expected. So far, nearly 25% of South African population has been fully vaccinated against COVID-19, while 4.7% has received a single shot. We've come to the end of today's edition of Prime News on My Media Prime Television. Coming up next is Prime Hour with Kum Leonard and his team. My name is Fon Quinta. Have a great night in the company of more programs on The African Eye. Stay with us.